Okay, oh heck. Another thing about Zoom is when you record, it takes a screen and it zooms back to about there. So I've gotta redo this. That's pretty good. Okay. Now, I'm not gonna write anything on the board. If you're watching this, because we do have a distance section of this course also, there are about 6 people in that. And these videos are going to get shared. The classes to see people actually fine at a distance. Okay, so yeah, one more thing. Got to tilt this here so I can see what's going on the screen. Look at that every once in a while, make sure the board isn't blurred. Okay. Okay, so this is MDE 61. It's a support course for pre-calculus. Okay. Ideally, you're supposed to be in pre-calculus if you're in this course. In 2 are linked, so if you drop one, you're out of the other. Okay. I don't think we've set it up that way, and I don't think we should. There are many people who've managed somehow to take this course without taking the pre-calculus. And they tend, if they do the work in this course, to then be quite successful in the pre-calculus course. So I think this course should stand alone. And I'm saying that publicly. And hopefully we'll keep it this way. Still, I wouldn't go out and drop the pre-calculus course and stay in this. It might have been right. That's a statewide policy. Statewide policy that lets anybody put themselves in any course they think they're ready for, which is a very, very bad policy for our students. Maybe it's good in Northern Virginia. It's not good here. Okay. I think we need to have the freedom to quietly do what's best for students. Okay. In any case, the way this course is going to try, we're going to try to work here. We're going to try to stay a little bit ahead of the pre-calculus course. Instead of going around mopping up what you don't understand about what you didn't understand in pre-calculus, and it's too late for you to understand because you've already tried the assignment and it's past due, right? I think the better idea is to try to give you a somewhat simpler version, a little bit watered down version of what you're going to see in pre-calculus so that you'll better understand what you see in your pre-calculus class. Okay. That means we're going to have to hustle a lot at the beginning of the semester because your pre-calculus class, if you're not in my class, has already gotten into stuff that requires a fair amount of algebra. Okay. In my class, we're going to do things a little differently. We're going to develop the pictures along with the algebra, then we put it all together, and hopefully that works. But this course and the distance course, where a lot of people are in distance pre-calculus courses, I think it's going to benefit people more if we do it the way I'm saying. Doesn't mean that we won't, if you have big questions about pre-calculus, especially there's a test coming up and we need preparation. Stuff we've gone over before, stuff you've already done in your pre-calculus course and didn't completely understand. We're going to be totally open to addressing those. So I can do a lot of individual work here in class. I can see what you understand. I can see what you don't. I can gauge things so that we get maximum benefit here. And to a lesser extent, I can do that in the distance class through email. Okay. So that's kind of an overview of what we're going to do. Now, we're going to get right into some material. Your first assignment here is going to be on exponents, and then there are going to be a couple of other things that we do kind of quickly. I try to coordinate this course with the people who are teaching your pre-calculus course. Okay. Which means I'll talk to Mr. Gallagher, and then I'll see who else is teaching these courses and try to contact them. Sometimes it's difficult to coordinate, but usually we do a pretty good job. Okay. There are going to be tests in this course. There are two ways you can pass this course. This is a pass-fail course. You're going to get a satisfactory or an unsatisfactory. Now, if there's a disaster in your world, I mean, you know, you come down with a terrible case of COVID 2 weeks before finals. I can't speak for your instructor unless it's me for the pre-calculus. But in this course, I'll certainly give you an incomplete time to make it up. Okay. Or there's a death in the family or some other big deal. Okay. An illness. Basically, all I got to do is convince me if there's really a disaster, maybe documents and things. I'll give you an incomplete. Otherwise, you just don't want that. You don't want the course to be spilling over into next semester. Okay. Okay, so you can pass this course without passing pre-calculus. In other words, you get a satisfactory, but still fail pre-calculus. I hope that doesn't happen. Okay. I hope you pass the pre-calculus. I hope you pass it with a good grade. I hope you get the knowledge you need to go on and take like an applied calculus or even a full-blown calculus course. If you pass pre-calculus, you're going to pass this course automatically, even if you don't do anything. I don't recommend that you don't do things in this course. Okay. I don't think that's a good strategy for passing your pre-calculus, but that's up to you. Okay. There are two routes. And really, if I find out from your instructor that you're doing well in pre-calculus, even if you don't show up for class, okay, but stay in communication. You know, I might email you and say, hey, you okay? Hopefully, you got to come by. You just come by at the beginning of class and tell me you're okay. Tell me what you're doing in pre-calculus. If you got something better to do, you got a test coming up in another course, that's fine. Okay, as long as you're doing well in your pre-calculus. Now, for the first few weeks until you get a test in pre-calculus, you won't really know how you're doing. So be here regularly for the first few weeks. Okay. Also, tell me how this course is working for you. If you got a suggestion how it might work better, go ahead. Yeah. If you want me to go wrestle Mr. Gallagher to make him give you easier grades, you can suggest that, but he's bigger than I am. And he's not that much older. Okay. He's a good guy. One of the best. Other instructors, yeah, we have another math instructor. I don't think he's teaching a pre-calculus. Another full-time math instructor. He's great. Gets really good results. Okay. But I think he's teaching some other things this semester. We have adjuncts, and I'm not sure who's teaching what, but I'm going to find out and contact them. Okay. In any case, suggestions are welcome. Okay. Say, this would work better for me if we do it like this. Now, I might decide, no, it's going to work better for everybody else if we do it the way we're doing it or do it some other way. It's kind of a group decision. If you're a distance student, I'll address distance students for a second. We're going to have videos. You're going to be required to watch this video, and I feel sorry for you, but you're going to be required to watch this video so you get a sense of what's going on. And then we'll deal by email and other things, especially the open math stuff, with other details. Okay, not required to watch every video. It's here for you. The other thing that's there for you is the videos in my open math. Now I'm talking to everybody again. Okay. You'll have assignments. You'll have problem sets. You'll have a reference to the textbook. Okay, you click on an assignment. It gives you the text, gives you objectives, gives you videos, And then you have problems, and the problems are often accompanied by videos. Now, people who are on top of things, a lot of times can just review what they already kind of know, but want to know a little better, just by doing the videos in the open math homework, okay? Some people need more than that. Some people need what we do in class, okay? And in class, we can do a lot of, yeah, please, incidentally, while I'm recording, don't talk and don't walk in front of the camera, because I can't use the video then. And I can post it to the open math, to the distance students, because it's kind of a collapsed course. I checked that out with my dean, okay? But I can't post it publicly. And, you know, sometimes I get people in outer Mongolia that are benefiting from my videos. I'd like to do that. Yeah, most of them can't stand them. But yeah, seriously, I make them public. Okay, there was a question, but by the time I got done talking, we lost the question. It'll come back, and when it does, let me know. Okay. Now, in doing your homework, you know, I did an assignment in the MDE 60, the intermediate algebra course, on fractions. And I was wrong when I said we're going to start with an assignment in fractions. Okay, I'm going to start with exponents because I have to assume you can do fractions. A lot of people did that assignment really fast. And it makes me, first of all, optimistic if they can do fractions as quickly as they were able to do them. And they probably are pretty good with fractions. The other thing is, maybe they just used their calculator to get the right answers and didn't learn anything, okay? So it concerns me a little bit, and I'll address that with that class and say, if you did that, go to the half credit page and do it for real, so I know what you know, so I can see what you know, or do this quiz on your honor because you're a distance student, I can't monitor it. And if you deceive me, it's on you. I don't want you to fail, but you keep deceiving me on this, and you don't really know what you're learning, you are likely to succeed at a much lower level than you want, including a failure possible, okay? So when you do your homework, do it. Do each problem with no reference to anything. If you've got to watch the video, okay. Okay? You watch the video. Okay? You take notes. You say, okay, here are the principles. Here's what I got to apply to do the problem. Then you put it the heck away and you try the problem. And the video is still fresh in your mind, that's okay. But if you sit there step by step watching the video and just imitate the steps mechanically without thinking it through and without challenging yourself a little bit, you're not going to learn anything. Okay? You're not going to learn as much as you probably need to learn. Okay. You could even appropriately use an artificial intelligence program. For example, ChatGPT. Bing has a pretty good one. I'm less familiar with it. You can't trust ChatGPT even at the level of PreCalculus. I asked it for some examples of rational functions. I've got plenty of examples, but I wanted to see what it thought. It took me 12 prompts to convince it that it didn't know the definition of a rational function. Rational function, just like a fraction, but with symbols, okay? It's a standard definition. Everybody knows that definition, except Chat Blame D GPT, which knows a whole lot, doesn't really know anything, okay? It just figures out what word to put with the last word and does that sequentially in hopes that it's right and pretends it is, okay? You can't trust it. But if you, for example, ask it to give you a dozen progressive problems with solving linear functions, it's going to do a darn good job of it because it knows what a linear function is, or linear equation, okay? If you ask it for 12 examples of progressively more complicated linear functions, it'll do that too. Okay? And you can practice in those. You can even say, give me 12 and give me the solution to every other one. Spit it right out. Okay? So that would be an appropriate use of ChatGPT. You can learn a lot using ChatGPT. I keep learning stuff. Okay? It's pretty high level stuff, graduate level stuff. I kind of leave the research level stuff alone. Puts me to sleep too quickly because it's really hard. I find that it's very useful, but that's because I know quite a bit. And I can tell when it's giving me a bunch of BS. And I know how to question it to see if it's giving me a bunch of BS, see if it's consistent, okay? You don't have those skills. You know some stuff, and I'll work with you somewhat on how to test whether those skills are consistent, what it's telling you is consistent, okay? Because you might want to use it. It can be a great learning tool if you use it right. It's terrible if you use it to solve problems you don't know how to solve and then pretend that you have it because you got to take tests. Okay? In my class, you're going to take tests and they're proctored. They're in the testing center. I think the same is so in Mr. Gallagher's class. Okay? Because people will cheat. And 75 to 90% of people come into PreCalculus class will cheat. It's shocking because people don't have, very high standards of conduct. I don't want to get into reasons people cheat. Some people are just desperate. I don't condone it. But you're not going to have those resources when you take the test. So you have to prepare yourself to take tests. Okay? That's your goal when you're doing homework. All right? And you look like you're ethically, what's the word I'm looking for? Words get away from me these days. Ethically astute. How about that? People. Okay? I wouldn't suspect you of cheating. Okay? So don't feel like I'm accusing you of that, but the evidence is there in the fact that people will bypass the learning process. I think it's because they haven't been properly educated by parents, teachers, or whomever. Okay? You got to get over that. It's not going to help you. So again, do your homework rigorously. Okay? Don't bypass the learning process. 4 points. Speaking of points, homework's not worth all that many points. And every class, you're going to have a quiz to see if you learned from the homework. And I see it all the time. People make 100% in all their homework and 0 on all the quizzes. And the quizzes are just what they were asked to do for homework. It makes me nervous. Okay, I don't like to see that because I know people are setting themselves up for failure. I'm saying that to everybody, distance students and class students. And I don't see the faces of the distance students. I hope they look as honest as the people here and as receptive to what I'm saying, okay? Yeah, some of you are falling asleep. That's okay, I understand. You already know what I'm talking about. So the points you get for homework and quizzes could make about a 3-point difference on your final score. 3 points is significant. Okay? You get half of those points by doing your homework dishonestly. Okay? And by saying dishonestly, you do it any way you want. Okay? I'm not telling you you have to do it honestly. You are welcome to let ChatGPT do your homework for you. I won't say anything to you about it. I just think you're making a terrible decision. And I don't think it's going to work out for you. Okay? You come in and you don't make the 1.5 points you can get for the quizzes. Still 1.5 points. if you're close to the borderline on your tests, you get those 1.5 points, and I won't begrudge. Okay. If you're that close to getting the grade, a satisfactory grade, and even went to the trouble to let ChatGPT do your homework for you, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt and say you're close enough. Okay. And I hope you passed your pre-calculus course. That makes sense? Okay. Now, if you do it all and do the quizzes and do well on the quizzes, you get close to those 3 points. Maybe you only get 2.5. Okay. It's still a quarter of a letter grade. It can make a difference. Now, this is pass fail. So, it's a quarter of a point where you got to make 70% and you make 67.5% on your test. I give you the 2.5 points, obviously. Well, I don't just give them to you, you earn them. You got them. It's not my decision. Okay. Does that make sense? Okay, so the whole purpose of homework is, number one, to give yourself a little bit of cushion and grade. And more importantly, to prepare you so you can pass the blame tests and succeed in the course. Okay? And that's going to be kind of important pre-calculus where it's A, B, C, D, F. Okay? Because then, you've got a quarter of a letter grade. There's a fairly good chance you're going to need that. Some of you are going to need that quarter of a letter grade. Okay? It's going to be the same in my pre-calculus classes. The grading pattern is pretty much the same, except we got letter grades. Okay? 90, 80, 70, 60. Okay, well, I don't want to talk too much about my pre-calculus course, because not everybody's in it. The majority of people between this and the distance class are not in my pre-calculus. Okay? They're the lucky ones. Well, I hope not. I hope everybody's lucky. I hope everybody's as lucky as they are if they're in Mr. Gallagher's class or whatever Angela's class is, okay, or whomever's teaching the class. Actually, I hope that the way I've redesigned the pre-calculus class makes us all rich and famous. That'd be good, right? Okay. I'm already famous. Yeah, yeah. That rich thing kind of invades me. Okay. Yeah, but more than that, I hope for you, because you got a lot more life left to live than I do. I'm currently in outstanding health, but that can change quickly, can't it? For anybody at any age. Okay. What am I going to say next? We're talking about the syllabus, talking about how you do the homework. Do it rigorously, good, honestly. Write it out. It's another thing. It's a big deal. Write down what you're doing. Don't just type in an answer. Write it down so you can review it. And write out all the steps. There aren't that many problems and there aren't that many steps in most of the homework. Later on, maybe. But it's still worth writing out every step, being sure you understand why you're doing everything, because then you just have it makes you more powerful. Gives you more power to solve problems, makes you more power to understand mathematics, gives you more power to use mathematics in your life and in your field. Okay? If you're in a pre-calculus class, you're in a field that might well use some mathematics. You want to be able to read graphs. You want to be able to understand what graphs are telling you. You want to be able to do the algebra. So even if you use a computer algebra system, you know what's going on. So you know how much to believe what it is you think you believe. I don't know if that was profound or not. I think I've never said that before. I don't know what I'm going to say next, but sometimes it's good. And I think that one might have been. We'll let posterity take care of that. I'm not worried. Okay. Well, I've actually talked about the grading system. Okay. We'll probably have 3 tests, including a final exam. Okay. but there'll be daily quizzes. Probably have one test fairly soon, just so I can gauge how you're doing. Okay. I'm going to ask your pre-calculus instructor how you're doing, kind of on a weekly basis. How they seem to be getting the homework done. Okay. And I'll encourage you, but I'm not going to ask you. What else would you want to know about the course? Syllabus says a lot. The syllabus is there. Go into Canvas and click on Syllabus. You can read it, and I want you to do that for next time, distance students as well as in-class students. Read the syllabus, because we can then talk about it in more detail. There's other stuff in the syllabus that's not totally relevant to the class, but it's relevant to the college. What to do in a college-wide emergency. Okay? You know, one thing is, hope I have the strength, fitness, athleticism, and training to take out anybody who's trying to hurt you. Don't rely on that. Okay. I'm stronger than I look, but that's still not much. Don't have any formally acquired skills, but I used to tussle with my buddies. It's not going to do me any good. Okay. There are procedures, seriously, for campus security. You want to be aware of. Okay. We haven't had any problems with security around here. You know, like there's an active shooter, we close the door, we grab something to throw. I don't think we're going to see an active shooter. I wouldn't worry about that anymore, getting hit by a meteorite. Okay, maybe a little, but not much. Nobody around here ever does anything to make anybody mad. Well, yeah, you got cycles out there, you never know. Okay, so you want to be prepared, but you don't want to be paranoid. So we have that, and again, you want to read those procedures and be aware of them, and I'll talk about them. We have access to mental health support. Okay, that's a new thing. That's in the syllabus. Let me tell you who to talk to. And basically, just go to that hall there and talk to somebody. If you're having, if you're having, anxiety issues or personal issues that you need to talk to somebody about, they're good. One of them's actually my daughter, works counseling. But there are a bunch of them. She knows the people. I had an encounter at the gym where I go to try to maintain a little bit of strength, where a guy came in, he was agitated, and we were all there weren't that many of us in the gym. And, one of my buddies, a guy my age, he was a Marine fitness instructor, and he's somebody that probably could take out somebody, even though he's only 140 pounds and 5'2". He's not the guy you'd want to mess with. And he's smart as heck. That's a member and everything. Neat guy. He's there. I'm there. There's another guy that doesn't talk much to people, but he's a fit guy. And there's this guy hassling it turns out he's hassling not hassling, but he's kind of in a different reality. So I finally went up to my buddy and said, "Hey, we need to take this guy out." Just joking. He said, "No." But then I kind of walked over and I said, "Go." One of my favorite ex-students. But he's mentally off. Okay. And then this other guy who's younger than we are, fit guy, he comes over. I think, now this guy could take Joe out. Joe's bigger than I am. He's not that tough, but I'm not going to tackle a guy that weighs me by 80 pounds. But I want to do something. So the other guy comes along. Turns out he's a counselor. Didn't know that. He didn't talk much. He came in, did his work on. So he counselor for that place, and we got Joe finally to leave. He was afraid the cops were going to come take him off to the mental institution. We convinced him that if we're going to call the cops, this was going to go on for a half hour. Then finally, Joe sobers up enough to look up, Dave? That's me. Long story short, we figured out where he lives, got somebody come pick him up, take him home. Okay, my point is, and the mental health guy, I mean, he was talking, he got the guy's driver's license and stuff. He said, I think the guy's name is this. Yeah, that's him. He just handled it really professionally. I was just there trying to think, do you remember me? We're friends. You know, trust us. That's the kind of stuff you get from the mental health. Okay. The kind of professionalism he has. So if anybody out there in here needs it, those people. So I encourage you to contact them. Okay. There's other stuff we will go over next time. Read the syllabus. Okay, now we're going to start doing some math. Fair enough? Okay. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write down a few problems. Okay. They're progressive in difficulty. I just want to see how you do with them. It's not graded. Just want to gauge where you're at. It helps me make decisions on the assignments. Okay. The assignments are all set up for the semester, but there's flexibility in the assignments and then when they're due and so forth. Not so much at the beginning, but as we go on in the course. Okay. So I need to make some judgments right now or this week on just how to sequence the assignments. So being able to see what you do with the math, and I understand you might be rusty, might have been a while since you had any math. Don't feel, you know, I have people in my in one of my previous classes where I did this, and the guy couldn't do anything. Okay. So I wrote out the solutions to the problems, which I'll do after you've worked on it, after see what you've done. So I know, yeah, that what you do also helps me judge what I need to do and what I don't need to do when I explain the solution. Okay. So I want to see what I need to say. I want to see what you can do. And the person couldn't do anything. Wrote out the solutions of the problems, gave him slightly harder problems. He could do most of them. So I saw there, okay, this person's picking it up pretty good. So even though obviously pretty rusty or something like that, it's probably going to do okay. All right. All right. Anyhow, here we go. And I'm not, people watching the video don't want to watch me write this. Okay, here are the problems. I would write one down and do what I can on it. Write the next one down and do what I can on it. But whatever you do is okay, however you want to write them down. If you're a distance student, I want you to do it the same way I'm having the class do. I want you to write these things down, and I want you to do your best solution without looking at any references. Okay? Because I need to see what you can do. Now, I expect that people are going to make quite a few mistakes in these. So if you do, don't worry about it. Just do it and then use a scanner app on your phone. Or if you absolutely can't locate a scanner app, they're all over the place. They're easy to find. Take a picture and email it to me so I can see what you did. This helps me gauge the course. It helps me understand what you need to hear, where you're having problems, where you are. I don't want to talk a lot about things that everybody can do. I want to talk about things that people need help with, okay? So do that honestly and email that to me. And do it really soon. Okay, I'll email you more about that. Okay. We have this first problem. Okay. The first thing you have to understand is there's a thing called the distributive law. Okay. It's about half and half in the class whether you use distributive law or not. How many of you remember the distributive law? Okay. And what's it say to do? It says to multiply this by this and multiply this by this, right? Because 3 times this quantity means 3 times everything in that quantity. And of course, if you are rusty and forgot that, it's easy to fix, right? So what you get is, I'll write out the steps. It's 3 times 4x minus 3 times 6 equals 9. Okay. Now you can multiply 3 by 4. I hope you don't have to use a calculator for that. Okay. It's kind of okay if you do, but it worries me a little bit. Okay. And 3 times 6 is 18. That equals 9. Now, there's a way that people then tend to write these things out. Okay. It's like you're going to put a plus 18 here and a plus 18 here. You're adding 18 to both sides, right? Because you're going to get rid of that 18 and get all your x's isolated on this side. I want you to be in the habit of putting an equal sign here. Anybody taught to put an equal sign between these 18s? You should have been. If you weren't, your teacher's probably just trying to hustle people to quickly prepare for an SOL, which is not a good way to teach, but they have no choice. So no reflection on teachers if they did put that equal sign, but it's important because what you're doing when you add this equality to this equality is you're saying, okay, this is equal to this, and this is equal to this. So this plus this is equal to this plus this. So I want to see that equal sign. I won't count it wrong if you don't do it, but I want to see it because again, it makes me sleep better. Helps me sleep better. I don't worry about it as much. Okay. Okay, so seriously now, this gives you 12x plus 0 equals 18. Sorry, 9 and 18 is 27. Okay. And of course, 12x plus 0, it's 12x, and that's equal to 27. And now what do? Well, you divide both sides by 12. Okay. Well, then the 12 divides the 12 here, and you get x equals 27 over 12. Of course, 3 is a common factor. Divide 27 by 3, you get 9. You divide 12 by 3, you get 4. And that equals, well, I'll write out 12, 27 12ths, but that's 9 fourths. Okay. And I want to see 9 fourths. I don't want to see 1.25. Because that means you divided this using your calculator. Okay. And you didn't reduce it. Okay. I want to see the fractions all the way down. Then if you want to say that equals 1.25, it's okay. All right. Again, this is just so I sleep well and people don't worry about you. Seriously, it's because you need to think about the mathematics with that level of precision to succeed in a PreCalculus course. Okay. Now, what about? I'm not going to actually do this. I'm going to do what I intended to do, which is put 49 here. Okay. Because it's a little easier to see. Then I'll do it with the 7. All right. So this is different than the problem I posed, but okay. if x minus 5 squared is 49, then what's x minus 5? You signal with your fingers. Okay, if you think it's 3, hold up 3 fingers. If you think it's something else, hold up those fingers. If you're not sure, don't hold up a finger because I'm afraid of which one I might see. Okay? Anybody have an idea what if x minus 5 squared is 49, what's x minus 5? Well, if I'm thinking of a number, if I square that number, I get 49. What number would I square to get 49? Oh. Hey, I'm glad you disguised your voice so we can still use this. But please, we're recording. And I hate that because I really like it when people talk back to me. Okay. And can verbalize this whole privacy thing, I think goes too far. But on the other hand, maybe not. Okay. So anyhow, this tells you that x minus 5 maybe is 7, right? Now, how many of you can think of another number that you could square to get 49? Others. Okay. That makes sense? If you square -7, what's -7 times -7? 2 negatives is positive, 7 times 7 is 49. Okay. And if I give you a number like 729, you don't know that that's a square of 27. You know, that's where you use your calculator, right? Yeah, for 2-digit numbers, you should know the squares, okay? It's really kind of important to know. It's more than that if you can't. If you don't know that. Okay, so anyhow, I say, okay, x minus 5 better be 7 or -7. So we'll write out the equation. X minus 5 equals 7, or x minus 5 equals -7. Now you're going to need this early in a pre-calculus course, okay? So make sure you ponder this. Make sure that you maybe review it and make sure you understand it as best you can. Okay, well then this is easy to solve. I'm just going to put down 3 dots. You're going to add 5 to both sides, and you're going to get x equals 12, or x equals -2. Okay, and then since I did that without doing the steps, I plug 12 back. Is 12 minus 5 equal to 7? Yeah. Is -2 minus 5 equal to -7? Yeah. So I skipped steps, but I checked. Even if you don't skip steps, you need to check. Okay, those are habits that you simply need to get into. I'm just barely still on the board, but still okay. Yeah, don't walk in front of the camera. Oh, sorry. And don't talk. And there are reasons for that. We're recording. And if you talk, you can be identified. And then we have to trash the video because of privacy laws. Okay, but welcome. You pick up a little bit about what we're going to do in pre-calculus class as we move on. Okay, now we want to move on a little further. Okay. Now, we have this. The way you solve this, and try to make a note of this. This is very important. You see stuff that looks like fractions there, right? On a 1 to 10 scale, hold up, how many fingers tells us from 1 to 10 scale how much you love fractions? If you hold up one finger, make sure you hold it up in the right direction. Okay, in the right finger. Okay, most people are pretty low with fractions, okay? People don't like fractions. Well, you know, there's good news. There's bad news too. You got to be able to do them. You don't have to do it to solve this problem. You just multiply both sides by 15. a little bit. 4 or 5, not 4. Okay. Now, why did I multiply by 15? Because 3 times 5 is 15. Why is that important? That means 3 divides into 15 and 5 divides into 15, and you can get rid of your denominators because 15 over 3 is 5. And 5 into 15 is 3 times 4. That is 5x plus 75 equals 12. And now we're happy because we don't have any more fractions, and that's really easy to solve. Okay? And we want to be happy. All right. Now, simplify. Now, you are going to have an assignment on exponents. You're going to need to use open math to understand it. We want to see how well you can do with that. Okay? It will be in 10 minutes. Okay? Can you walk and come in and have a seat? It's going to get a little crowded, but we'll deal with it. Okay, we're going to finish up here. X squared cubed means when you cube something, you multiply it by itself 3 times, right? And this equals, well, x squared times x squared, well, it's x to the 6th. Okay. Now, on the last 2 problems, I don't have time to do them, but neither one of these simplifies. I saw people do this. For example, no. Okay, we'll explain why next time. Okay, and we'll actually do as we hear still in the PreCalculus. Not valid at all. So you got to be really careful about crossing things out because things look like they ought to be able to cross, like you ought to be able to cross them out, but they are. Oh, excuse me. I'll walk in front of the camera. I'm sorry. You sneaked up on me. I would have seen you earlier. Hope I didn't startle you. Okay. So those are no notes. We'll explain why next time. But the bottom line is cancellation means you cancel factors. Now you could do it here. Okay, I'll tell you what this is. 3x plus 9 over 3 is 3x over 3 plus 9 over 3. And this is really just a distributive law. Okay. Now 3 over 3 is 1, so you do get x and you get 3. Over the years, I've posed problems like this to PreCalculus students. If you're in PreCalculus, okay, you've already seen it, so I'm not going to be able to tell. But 90% of PreCalculus students will do these things, which means that 90% of PreCalculus students really need to upgrade their algebra. Okay. So what those of you who come in at the end of my previous class, and that's fine, are seeing is the tail end of a support course for PreCalculus. Okay. I strongly recommend that you I'll say this in class, but I will strongly recommend that you do the advising self-assessment. Make sure you're in the right place, because if you aren't, going to mess up your curriculum. Okay, it won't be fatal, but it can be a bad mistake. I'll talk about more of that in pre-calculus. It's a small class. You get plenty of support. You get plenty of help. Okay, so I really recommend it for a lot of students. In a pre-calculus class, typically 2/3 of the students really kind of need it. Okay. Now I say that, and what happens is the students who don't need it then sign up for it, and students who do need it think they don't. Okay, that's human nature. Okay, well, that's the end of that class.